You're out and about in public and you're doing whatever was asked or doing whatever you want to do out there. Maybe you're going shopping or you're out in the mall, you're doing getting groceries, like your mom asked. And usually the interactions you have are very slim. Maybe you bump into someone, maybe you notice someone that you recognize, or you have to talk to the cashier to get whatever you want and buy it. Usually you leave it as that. You don't acknowledge the rest of the day, and you don't really acknowledge people or strangers that were also there in the same building at that time. So go back. Maybe you noticed someone who was having a hard time walking, or someone who's kind of pacing back and forth, a little confused. And then you have someone who's mumbling under the breath, not knowing what to do. Maybe the first person has a physical disorder that prevents them from walking properly. Maybe that second person has a mental disorder, giving them a hard time trying to focus on the task that was asked. And the last person, someone with a personality disorder, having a hard time socializing in society. With that, you're gonna now start to notice the small things in people, and maybe you'll start to notice that your day's a little different than what you originally thought. The interest in personality disorders and mental disorders in themselves should pique everybody's interest to know how the brain works, or to have a general idea of how the brain works and why we act the way we do is something that everybody should know, maybe like have a year class. But when you know someone with a personality disorder and know people that know others with personality disorders and how it affects them, then it really starts to dig you into a rabbit hole. So, what is a personality disorder? Personality disorder, described by Mayo Clinics, is when someone has an emotion or personality that is taken to extreme or out of norm situation to what society would usually view it as, and it's split up into three groups: cluster A, B, and C. Cluster A consists of odd, erratic personalities, and they usually consist of paranoia and schizophrenia. They're usually afraid and constantly on watch of what's going on. Cluster B consists of being dramatic, overly emotional, and unpredictable, consisting of narcissism and borderline. Narcissism being very self-centered and thinking very highly of oneself, and borderline is where you express multiple feelings or personalities either at the same time or one after another. Then once we get to cluster C, you'll start to notice something. It's anxious, fearful, and nervous. And that's where avoidant personality disorder falls under. And other ones consist of OCD and dependent disorders, personality disorder. With OCD, obviously, cannot, without being able to focus until a certain task is met to a certain requirement of that person. So, what is AVPD or avoidant personality disorder? The person is described as very sensitive on judgment. They don't know how to respond and react out in public because they're so afraid of judgment that they even stay at home to dwell on it. A description of them would be timid, antisocial, very lacking confidence, and they lose control in maybe a social situation. The symptoms may seem nondescript or you won't notice them. They tend to be hiding, and they obsess over what's wrong with me, what are they thinking of, and how are people viewing me. Even though some of these symptoms may seem common or can be joked around, like saying I have this, I have that, it's rare. This personality disorder is considered rare. So cause of it, we don't know. We just don't know. Cleveland Clinic says that the best that they can find is it's either genetic or it's caused by an outside factor like abuse of childhood, or another one being having a hard time transitioning from adolescence to adulthood. So teen to being non-teen adult. And if these people continue to ignore their disorder and let it be as is, so their symptoms will lead into a possible abuse of drugs and alcohol, and on top of that, a possibility of growing depression. And knowing people with depression, it hurts. You definitely see it. I was lucky to have a friend express what their thoughts were on it, and I quote, "It's gotten worse over the past years to the point where I didn't want to get out of bed, but was uncomfortable in bed. Never wanted to go outside and disliked going out to where people are because I'm more terrified of people. Put on a fake face, and at the end of the day, I was worn out and just numb." My friend expressed it as they didn't know what to do. And with a personality disorder on top of that, that's a mess in itself. It's a spiraling mess. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There are ways to treat it and to hopefully maybe even cure it. One being is getting therapy. One type of therapy is psychotherapy, or individually counseling the person and slowly changing the way that they think. And then another one is behavioral therapy, where they specifically focus on the behavior of that person and slowly change it one at a time. The National Center for Biotechnology and Information is a United States medical library and focuses on a lot of mental disorders and stuff like that. And they were able to interview 15 people with avoidant personality disorder, and it seemed like there was a common ground with it. They wanted to find courage. They want to escape from the grasp of AVPD and be able to seek the ability to reach out to others. Because usually the people with AVPD, they have a desire to reach out to others, but they're so hesitant because of their personality. It's just having that one person to give them that little nudge just to go on and ask for that help. Another one is finding trust, to be able to trust someone. With AVPD, how do you trust someone when you're so worried about what they're going to say, think, or do to you? And just being able to focus on yourself and get your work done. Having the strength in oneself to be able to talk to others, and having freedom from AVPD so that they're not constantly bound by the shackles of fear and worrisome of AVPD. They also want to manage themselves. They're sick and tired of having something hold them back, a huge wall holding them back. So being able to break through that and getting through the wall is just what they need. Even though this personality disorder is rare, you don't know who has it, and you don't know who may have it. The symptoms are just taken on another level of being shy and not being able to talk and interact. They can't talk and interact because they're afraid of what other people are going to say and how they are going to act towards them. Personality disorders take everything to an extreme level, and AVPD is just one of the things that are under it. Not truly knowing the cause and reason of why it happens is something that we should look into and focus on. And being able to understand what's like through a personal experience, or being able to get someone with a personal experience of it is a great way of being able to reach out to someone. The goal should be able to, with any personality disorder, is to help that person and let them be able to find the light out. Thank you.